Some praise failure and others hate it. The most successful people in the world love it, but it can destroy you. And what you believe failure means changes what it does to you. Failure becomes destructive when you believe that you are your results. So to fail means that you are a failure, less of a person, unworthy, and should hide your unworthiness from others. When you come home from a failed job interview, the person who suffers the most isn't the one who thinks about the lost opportunity, the bills that won't get paid, or the next interview that needs to be taken. It's the person that thinks about what the failed interview means about themselves. The idea that because they got rejected, that they're bad at interviews and unlikely to succeed at the next one. And that one stupid thing they said at the end wasn't a mistake, but a reflection of their overall ineptitude that can't be fixed. From that perspective, failing a job interview doesn't feel like part of the process of getting a job. It feels like an unsolvable problem that can't be escaped. It becomes empowering when you see yourself separately from your results, and failure becomes experimentation. The person who comes home from a rejection thinking about what they learned from the experience, using the information to decide on how to approach the next one, is the person that feels the most confident and makes the most progress. Whether failure is helpful or damaging depends on what you believe the failure means. You can't just love failures. You need to see it in a certain way and manage how you experience failures in order to benefit from them. If you want to be successful, you need to know failure is an inevitable part of life. There's no escape from it. No matter how incredible or how rich you become, you will fail. And if you fail often enough in the right ways, a strange thing will happen. You'll become successful. Because the fear of failure is more dangerous than failure itself. It's the fear of a thing that can't be stopped that happens to everyone. The people who are distracted by this fear fall behind, and the ones who don't let it bother them or embrace it race ahead. Failure is inevitable, and it's something you can deal with. But assume that it's something that should be avoided at all costs, and you'll be distracted forever by the fear of it. The scientific method can help you see failure as a positive experience. The scientific method is observe the world, come up with an idea, test it, and see if your idea is correct. If the test determines that your idea was wrong, it doesn't mean that you failed, you're worthy of shame, should be banished from your tribe and starved to death, so therefore you should hide the failure from the world or die. It just means that your idea was wrong, and now you're informed of that truth. The scientific method isn't an identity. It's a tool that allows you to navigate the world and increase your knowledge under the assumption that you could be and will be wrong a lot. The people you know that pursue their goals relentlessly, love failure, and succeed way more often than seems possible see the world this way. And you can too, by giving yourself experiences with small failures you're able to handle that teach you more about the world. Michael Jordan became one of the greatest athletes in the world because he understood that if you fail and think of failure as an informative process, then it makes you better. He became a champion because of how willing he was to miss a shot. In other words, the reason why he succeeded was because of how many times he'd failed. I have not failed 10,000 times. I've successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work, Edison told a reporter. To him, the invention of the light bulb wasn't a process of 1,000 failed attempts. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. If you look at failure as informative to your identity, it crushes you. But if you let it inform your process, then it enables you. Failure isn't something that you only like or dislike. It changes. Enjoying failure is a skill set that you can learn. To do it, give yourself practice with small failures. If you know the thing you're thinking of trying will crush you if you fail, it's probably not the place to start. Give yourself a small activity that you can succeed at, can be tried in different ways, you know you could do incorrectly, but if it worked, would make your life better. Then try it with the understanding that your life will be fine no matter what result you get. And then use that same process in something more challenging. If it doesn't work, try again with variation. You can start with something as simple as making a cup of coffee. Think of a way that you want to make it. Make it that way and see if it works. If it doesn't, then keep brewing, while changing your process a little at a time, taste testing, and using the flavors that aren't right to inform you on how to do it better. Do it and get excited when it gets better. Do it until you can stick out your chest and tell your friends that you make the best cup of coffee there is. And as you do it, remind yourself that failure doesn't mean you're helpless or incapable of doing the thing. You're just more informed about the world now than you were before you failed. Make sure you pick a failure that won't break you. If the failure physically harms you or leaves you so disappointed that you can't recover, then it's no longer useful to you. Seek discomfort without damage. Putting yourself in so much danger that it harms you isn't useful. Putting yourself in a little bit of danger that pushes you to grow in a healthy way is one of the most powerful learning tools in existence. Choose what you work on and make it something that will make you better. The people who hate failure the most are the ones who are in the most scarcity. When someone doesn't believe they have or are enough, every failure feels like a knife in the chest. When every week is paycheck to paycheck, you have no friends, your boss tells you that if you come in late again, you're fired, and you get a flat tire without a spare in the trunk or a jack to lift up your car. Life is very different from when you have some money in the bank, you're driving somewhere with a friend during your time off, and you get into the same situation. In both cases, the lesson learned is to have a spare tire. But one is a disaster, so stressful it's difficult to even notice the lesson in the midst of dealing with the consequences of showing up late to work one too many times. When you aren't living in abundance, failure doesn't feel like information. It feels like a subtractive process of self-destruction. And honestly, if you show up late for work too many times, you're probably going to be in a tough spot. And if you make too many mistakes while doing something physical, you can injure yourself to a point where you can never come back. A failure can be something physical that's so harmful that you can't survive it, and so demoralizing that you can never recover. Theoretically, anyone is capable of instant transformation, where they see their failure in a new light, believe in themselves again, and move on to greater accomplishments. But the reality is that many people fail so hard they never come back. While growing up, a lot of wealthy kids make mistakes, but have enough of a safety net to recover, and when they do, they look back, learn, and improve. A lot of kids that grow up with scarce resources in poor neighborhoods make the same mistakes but don't have anyone to help them get back up, fall behind, and get into worse situations. As you become an adult, you develop the power to decide what situations you attempt. So treat yourself like a person you have responsibility for, and give yourself a safety net, and give yourself experiences that teach instead of destroy you. If you're in scarcity and you're failing a lot and it's making you sad, then you need to do something about it. And you can't just let it keep happening because eventually it will tear you down. So build abundance into your life, create situations where you know that you have things handled, and create scenarios where you feel valuable and accomplished. The stronger you feel, the stronger you are. And the more abundant you feel, the more abundant you become. So even if you're failing at something you care a lot about, make sure that you create a situation where you're succeeding somewhere, because it makes you more capable of winning everywhere else. Realize that failure is negotiable. You can decide what you work on. If you're struggling in an area of life, either find other areas where you can succeed and use that to teach yourself that you're a person capable of winning, or scale back what you're doing so that you're doing a small enough version of it that is possible to succeed. The human mind isn't designed to fail constantly, so create an environment where you can win. One of the best solutions to failure is to change your goal. If your goal is to make a light bulb on the first try and the light bulb doesn't work, then you failed. But if your goal is to invent a light bulb eventually, the failed bulb is information on the overall project. It helps you. Playing a song correctly is a different goal than learning to play a song. Running a successful business isn't the same as making one specific customer happy. Sometimes it feels impossible to change your goal. When you struggle to change it, change your timeline instead. When Gary Vee talks about patience, he talks about a long-term goal of buying the New York Jets or building his VeeFriends IP and brand for the next 45 years. This puts failures in a completely different context for him that's less difficult to deal with. Changing your perspective by changing your timeline can change your performance. Make your goal something that makes your failures useful. Failure needs 3 things to be useful. It needs to be detached from your identity, informative, and something you can recover from. Looking at the world in a way that makes those 3 things possible accelerates the speed at which you can learn anything.